Celebrating outstanding women. Tonight on our News Weekend, we turn our attention to women making waves in their fields. Their story of trial and triumph is straight ahead. But first, a dangerous blaze. A major fire at a scrap metal yard sends dark clouds of smoke into the sky, causing firefighters to race to bring the matter under control. And later, are you ready to jazz it up? Our Danielle Miller is in Miami getting set for tonight's Jazz in the Gardens. Our News, the weekend edition, starts right now. Welcome to our News, the weekend edition on this International Women's Day. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Berthany McDermott. It's a day to commemorate the fight for equality and liberation for women worldwide. Here at home, women continue to break barriers and go beyond the status quo, becoming the first in their fields and paving their own paths to get there. Tonight, we put a spotlight on women who are trendsetters, leaving behind a legacy for many to follow. Our International Women's Day celebration comes into focus in a few minutes, but first, a massive blaze at a scrap metal yard at the rear of the New Providence Ecology Park, sending thick black smoke across the New Providence skyline today, and firefighters are on a race against time. The fire, burning for hours, has sent thick plumes of black smoke visible for miles, possibly posing a serious threat to air traffic. The clouds of smoke could be seen from our Old Railroad studios. Reports coming into our newsroom say the smoke could also be seen from far east and at Blue Lagoon Island. Light winds are complicating the battle, sending the flames into nearby bushes and homes. Our News was first on the scene this afternoon and saw firsthand how quickly it spread from one end of the scrap metal yard to another, as workers rushed to remove as many objects as they could to prevent spreading. Trucks on rotation brought tanks of water to extinguish the blaze. Still, the fire raged on. Security officers limited traffic on the property. As for the cause of the fire, that remains unknown. This is a story we will continue to follow. The Davis administration is touting lower power bills, and according to Energy Minister JoBeth Colby Davis, over 58,000 Bahamas Power and Light customers received bills under $125 in January. She credits the decrease to the equity rate adjustment. It comes months after Bahamians were hit with skyrocketing bills last summer. Since then, consumers have seen a sharp decline in power bills. She provided this breakdown of BPL's 94,500 residential customers.
Approximately 9,636 households received electricity bills between $5 to $19.99 in January 2025. Going further, Madam Speaker, approximately 41,014 households received bills between $20 to $99.99.
Colby Davis says around 8,200 customers received bills between $100 and $124.99. She acknowledged that during the winter months, customers traditionally use less energy. Here's what the Energy Minister had to say about that.
We cannot deny or ignore the impact of the ERA.
That's right.
It is also worth mentioning that lower electricity bills also means less funds paid in VAT and more money in the wallets of Bahamians.
And now to the Family Islands. There have been countless complaints over the lack of banks on the islands, but it seems they'll not be returning to some of those communities. Economist and Fidelity Bank and Trust Chief Executive Officer Gowan Bowe tells us it's just not viable, especially with the world moving to digital banking.
It's not necessary to have the physical presence and the traditional physical presence. It is just not viable.
As the world evolves, so is everyday banking. But with multiple banks and branches across New Providence, Abaco, Eleuthera, Grand Bahama, and Exuma, it seems more and more family islands are being left out of the conversation. Economist and Fidelity Bank and Trust Chief Executive Officer Gowan Bowe says, as it stands, banking may not return to the family islands that have been without physical banks for quite some time.
Not if the activity in that particular island does not allow it to pay for itself, because it means it has to be subsidized from elsewhere. Will banking continue to be provided in the family islands? Yes, because persons are still going to be able to have bank accounts. Persons are still going to be able to receive and send money.
Bowe shared that in the United States, less than 15% of transactions happen with cash. He believes there needs to be greater education on digital banking.
Even though we see the bank as a mythical, separate body, A bank really is only Berthanie's deposit, Berthanie's parents' investment in the bank, his siblings or cousins who are working in the bank, and the friends that he knows that are borrowing. So the management team is only trying to navigate how all of those have their needs met. And so you can't have the demand for physical presence driving it into insolvency.
Family Islanders have long complained about the absence of physical banks on the island. The government has joined the conversation, hoping to find ways to fix the issue. But Bo shares another perspective, the cost to keep these banks open.
If you think about a physical presence, there's rent, there's the staffing that is required in it. If they are a cash holding facility, they have to build a vault. They have to have a certain minimum number of staff for dual custody when they're accessing, etc. So a much larger staffing complement. And the reality is deposit or placing money in a bank does not allow a bank to earn revenues to pay for all of those expenses. It's really about business.
Over in Grand Bahama, the Port Authority is preparing to celebrate 70 years this August. President Ian Roll says they will continue to be an active part of the community. In honor of the anniversary, 3 streets in Freeport were renamed in honor of local legends. Looking ahead, Roll shares what he envisions the next 70 years will look like.
Well, my big dream is how can we build a new city within the Freeport area, right? And that's a major real estate play. Again, that takes all parties on deck to pull something like that off. But we could, because we have all this land, we have all the concessions, everybody just needs to work together, and we could accomplish much.
Meanwhile, extensive infrastructure work has been done on one family island, and residents say they finally feel much needed attention is being put in the community outside of the capital.
We have smooth roads. You can, you don't break up your car as much as you used to. So we get good roads. They're doing some stuff down here.
That's just one of the infrastructural upgrades on Exuma in recent years, and according to local government representative Sherelle McKinsey, the Baratari community is grateful. McKinsey explained it was much different a few years ago. But that's not the only upgrade that has Exuma residents happy. The Water and Sewage Corporation finished $9.1 million worth of work to, among other things, provide potable water to homes that went decades without it.
We are so happy this is here. Now we have a new subdivision coming, but I mean the people are happy. Even where I'm at, when this is working, my pressure increases.
When I wash my washing machine, the hard water in the clothes, when you hang them on the line, they dry hard, different from when it's fresh water. The cloth is soft, you can feel the difference.
No doubt upgrades like this and others make the island more attractive to residents and guests. McKinsey says residents feel like more attention has been placed on the island and its needs. Meanwhile, retired Assistant Commissioner of Police John Roll says the island's economy is growing and the upgrades will only add to the island's unprecedented boom.
Thanks to our representative, Mr. Cooper, Exuma, we're feeling it. We're getting somewhere.
Back in the day, there was only farming on the island of Exuma, farming and fishing. But now we have tourists. If you look at the harbor, you'll see about 300 to 400 boats, yachts in the harbor, and that is a plus for the island of Exuma. Exuma is growing by leaps and bounds.
When our news weekend comes back from the break, we turn our attention to outstanding women making waves as the police commissioner shares her road to shattering the glass ceiling. And excitement is high as onlookers and organizers prepare for night 1 of the annual Jazz in the Gardens. We'll tell you all about it when our news weekend returns.
Diet-friendly special.
Shanta Knowles has shattered the glass ceiling, becoming the first woman commissioner of police. What some may see as a daunting task, Knowles sees as an opportunity. She says she's hoping to inspire young women to take on leadership roles. Jasmine Brown has the details.
Women have always been excelling in our organization. We waited we waited for a while before we got the first female officer to be deputy commissioner, but we've now shattered the glass ceiling.
After decades of serving in the Royal Bahamas Police Force, Shanta Knowles moved up the ranks. On January 3rd, she became the first woman commissioner of police. But Knowles tells us the journey wasn't always a walk in the park. While appearing as a guest on RTV's On the Record with host Jerome Sawyer, she says she used stumbling blocks in her career as fuel.
Whenever I thought that I hit a roadblock somewhere, I look at it as a stepping stone to what the future could possibly be like.
Did you ever feel that you had to work harder to prove yourself?
Not to prove myself as a woman, but to prove myself as someone who was worthy for promotions in the organization, yes.
But what inspired her to get into law enforcement? Knowles says at the age of 15, she met a female police officer who sparked her interest. Suddenly, her desire to become a teacher vanished. Her appointment has left a lasting impact on the many women in law enforcement.
I think women now understand or realize that there is no glass ceiling and that one woman has already ascended to the position of Commissioner of Police, and so others can do so. And I'm hoping that I am inspiring some of my female colleagues in the junior ranks to now be even more dedicated, be even more committed, and to strive to get to this position.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Thanks, Jasmine. Well, she's been a pioneer in her field by breaking barriers to become the first woman managing director for RBC Bahamas. With over 3 decades of experience under her belt, she now serves in a regional role, leaving behind a legacy for many young women to live up to. In this next report, hear the story of RBC Caribbean Regional Vice President of Personal and Private Banking, Lasagna Mizik, who used the challenges of being a woman in a male-dominated world as fuel for success.
It's always a bit of having to prove yourself as you go along and to say, hey, I am equally as capable as, a male doing the role or someone else.
In her 30 years in banking, Regional Vice President of Personal and Private Banking for RBC Caribbean, Lasagna Mizik says the biggest challenge as an excelling woman has been being underestimated. Mizik says women are often not seen as being capable of handling leadership roles that require tough decisions being made, but she never allowed the difficulty to stop her.
I found that just being average or just having that mediocre presence was never going to be enough. So I always had to be always striving to say I'm the top performer in these areas. And then as a result of that, it built the confidence in others that I could possibly take on more and do more.
Mizik started off in retail banking as a part-time teller on my home island, Abaco. She has journeyed from an entry-level branch banking role to human resources, to eventually becoming the first female managing director for RBC Bahamas. And now she's the first Bahamian in this regional role that covers 38 branches in 10 countries across the Caribbean. But throughout her tenure, she says she enjoyed the support of other women.
There was a component of where everyone was trying to get to this one seat or this one opportunity. And sometimes that may have caused some women to hold back a bit in terms of sharing what their experiences were or how they got there. But generally, for the most part, I think that I've always had some female leader that gave me advice or looked back and said, you know what, I see you in me.
In this regional role, she's hoping women under her see the possibility they can one day excel to. This International Women's Day, she had this to say to women.
Walk with confidence and to know that you're equally capable. Don't doubt yourself. Remove the self-doubt and know that you're equally capable and in some cases maybe even better, right, to do the job. And I think the other thing is don't necessarily feel that you have to sacrifice one thing for the other. Sometimes we worry about, can we have it all? Can I have the family life, the husband and the kids and the career? And yes, you can.
In this next report, our Sasha Lightburn speaks with one of the country's leading women in foreign affairs, Jerusa Ali. She's encouraging women who aspire to work in the Foreign Service to start now.
If you dream of becoming an ambassador, start now. That's the advice from Jerusa Ali, Director General of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
If today you'd like to be an ambassador in 20 years, what you have to do right now is you have to learn a foreign language.
As the third woman to ever hold this position, Ali leads a ministry where women have a powerful presence, with the Bahamas having one of the highest per capita rates of women in diplomatic posts. For her, International Women's Day is about reflecting on that impact.
International Women's Day is a great day to spotlight the work of women, our gender, our impact, and how we think, how we do things differently. Our leadership style is quite different than men. And I really like being able to reflect on the women in my ministry's contribution at this time of year.
And right now, Ali says women's leadership in foreign policy is more crucial than ever.
I think women's voices in peace and security are especially important. We're now in troubling times. We're dealing with regional insecurity. And we need women as negotiators and mediators, bringing parties together.
And the possibilities for career opportunities for women in the foreign service are endless.
Your foreign affairs as a foreign service officer, you can work as an international project officer with another ministry. You can even work for another government, either as an intern or as a proper officer or specialist.
So from our news to the women of the Bahamas at home and abroad, happy International Women's Day. Reporting for our news, I'm Sasha Lightbourne.
Thanks, Sasha. Still to come in our news weekend, running and pedaling for a good cause. We'll give you a first look at the Bahamas Hope Challenge's annual fundraising weekend of events on Eleuthera.
High school students have a new date for when they hit the gridiron. We'll talk about it next on our Sports Weekend.
Diet-friendly special.
Good evening, I'm Tej Adley here with our Sports Weekend. The Bahamas Youth Flag Football League's high school tournament was originally scheduled for this week coming up, but they're announcing a new date. The BYFFL's annual high school tournament gives our nation's best young players a chance to play for school pride. Students from public and private schools were originally scheduled to play next weekend, but due to corrected trials, the action was postponed until May. In the meantime, league games started a few weeks ago. They'll be out there honing their craft and competing until the tournament comes up again. Now, the tournament is tentatively scheduled for May 10th. The kids play right at the fields in front of Thomas A. Robinson Stadium, so go check that out if you can when it comes up. Now we're going to get the latest updates for Bahamians on the hardwood. Klay Thompson had 15 points as his Dallas Mavericks lost 122-111 to the Memphis Grizzlies. They have now lost 4 straight games, and it feels like their season is in free fall. With the trading of Luka Doncic and injuries to Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis, look for the team to mull over shutting it down for the season. Buddy Hield and the Warriors are going tonight against the Detroit Pistons. They've been on a hot streak since acquiring Jimmy Butler ahead of the trade deadline. They're going to try and jump in the standings. And in college, VJ Edgecombe and his Baylor Bears have a tall order ahead of them tonight as they take on in-state rival number 3 Houston. Ramad Dean and Fordham will also go against Rhode Island, and Frederick King and Creighton will play Butler. And before we go, Buddy and the Warriors are making a playoff push. They'll play the Detroit Pistons within the next hour. We'll talk about it tomorrow night. That is a wrap for sports this evening. For our Sports Weekend, I'm Tej Adley.
Thanks, Tej. Attendees are lining up for Jazz in the Gardens tonight. Our Danielle Miller is back in 3 minutes with the highlights. The details when Our News Weekends returns.
Diet-friendly special.
Welcome back to Our News Weekend. Partly cloudy skies outside the Our News studio today. Meteorologist Greg Thompson joins us now with a look at temperatures.
Yeah, thanks, Berthany, and a happy Saturday evening, everybody. Beautiful day around the islands once again. We still have that ridge of high pressure in charge. Dry air mass is in place. Temperatures are comfortable, a little on the slightly warm side though. 76 degrees is our current temperature on the outside, mostly clear skies. Winds out of the east-southeast at 4 miles per hour. Your feels like temperature is at 74. Temperatures around the islands right now, it's 72 in Freeport, 73 in Marsh, Harbour, Abaco, 74 as Alistown, Bimini, Great Harbour Key, Nichols, San Andreas, 77. Governor's Harbour, you guys are 75 at this hour as well. 72s in Arthurstown, Cat Island, Coburn Town, San Salvador, Kemps Bay, South Andros, 79, Georgetown, Exumas, as well as Deadman's Key, 74. Into the Southeast Bahamas, 77 in Duncantown, Ragged Island, 75s in Colonel Hill, Crooked Island, Delectable Bay, Abrams Bay, Providenciales, Turks and Caicos Island, 76, and Matthew Town in Nagua, you are the warm spot at 80 degrees. Satellite radar composite showing this. Quiet across the area, ridge of high pressure and a dry air mass is in place. Mostly blue skies. We had a little fire not too far away from the studios, and that left some clouds lingering across the area, but we're going to enjoy this nice weather one more day. We do expect the frontal boundary to be getting in here. We're sure that in our future forecast, that could bring us a couple of isolated showers, but the high pressure behind that will reinforce the conditions we've been experiencing for the last couple of days. This is the future forecast showing nothing happening across us. Most of the moisture staying well to the north of us across Florida. There's a low pressure system expected to develop in the Gulf of Mexico that will move across North Florida. In turn, that will drag a frontal boundary across that area by Monday. We're looking at Monday afternoon for the Northwest Bahamas and possibly even Monday night if the front holds up for here in the capital. Boating forecast, Northwest and Central Bahamas, night through tomorrow. We are enjoying some very nice weather out there. Southeast and south winds, 10 to 15 knots, seas running 2 to 4 feet over the open waters. Low tide is at 9:26 tonight. Your high tide is at 5 a.m. in the morning. Of course, Southeast Bahamas, much the same. East to southeast winds, though, at 10 to 15 knots. Seas running 2 to 4 feet over open waters. Here's a look now at your national forecast. Before we get to the extended forecast, we are now going to change our clocks. We are springing ahead, so 2 a.m. in the morning. Before you go to bed at night, make sure you advance your clock by an hour. Our daylight savings times begins at 2 a.m. And of course, if you have fire alarms, smoke alarms, make sure you do change those batteries as well. In the extended forecast, quiet tomorrow, warm, 83 degrees. We get really warm on Monday just ahead of that front. Temperatures will be up in the mid-80s. But once that front goes through, we're looking at some upper 70s to near 80 degree for most of the week. And then we have some warmer temperatures by the end of the week. That's a look at our weather. Make it a safe night, everybody.
Thanks, Greg. Running and pedaling for a good cause. Bahamas Hope Challenge hosts its annual fundraising weekend of events. Over 100 runners, cyclists, and volunteers taking to the streets of Eleuthera from Coco de Bana Beach in Governor's Harbor to as far as the Glass Window Bridge, all in an effort to raise awareness and money in the fight against cancer. Organizers say financial support from participants fuel life-saving initiatives. Since its inception, they've raised more than $4 million for Bahamians diagnosed with cancer. Our Joshua Williams is in Eleuthera and will have a full recap in a later newscast. After weeks of preparation, the day has come for the Jazz in the Gardens Music Festival in Miami Gardens. The Our News team left the island this morning to attend the event, but before they left, they were curious as to who would be boarding their flight to attend the festivities as well. Our Daniel Miller has the details.
It is the morning of Jazz in the Gardens Day 1, and we are into Linden Pinland International Airport waiting to board our flight. But while we're waiting, I ran into a few other attendees, one a first-timer and one who's been to the festival before but is returning after a little bit of a break.
Oh girl, I'm gonna have some fun at Jazz in the Gardens.
Well, this is not the first time that we've been. We've had experience in the past about it, and we just like the mix that you usually put together with the various artists, and they usually do a pretty good job with it, and the atmosphere is usually pretty good and usually fun.
Yes, my first time. I've heard a lot about Jazz in the Gardens. It's one of the biggest festivals in Florida every year.
Mostly a new edition, and Lauryn Hill would be interesting as well.
Girls, you know you better watch out. Some guys are only about that thing, that thing, that thing, that thing, that thing, that thing. Multi-talented.
And with that, we are off to Jazz in the Gardens. For behind the scenes content, follow our social media pages at Our News Bahamas. Reporting for Our News, I'm Danielle Miller.
Thanks, Danielle, and thank you for joining us for Our News tonight. And remember, time changes at 2 a.m. Sunday morning. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Berthany McDermott. Make it a great weekend, everyone.
Hey guys, Megan Shepherd here. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to click that subscribe button if you want to see more content like this. Just click right over here. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so you stay up to date with content like this from the team you already trust.